Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sierra Mountain Center and our Adventure Outdoors program. While everybody's stuck inside, this is an opportunity to get out, live a little vicariously, and we can take you on some of the places we've been. So today is our Antarctica, skiing with penguins. And this was a trip I was lucky enough to do in late October, November of 2019. So by way of introduction here, since you're here, you probably know who we are. And we are, of course, Sierra Mountain Center. We're based in beautiful Bishop here. Office is currently closed, although we are hoping to reopen fairly soon. So a little bit about me, SP Parker. I'm owner of Sierra Mountain Center. Started the business in the late 90s. Originally from New Zealand and grew up doing things in the outdoor, catching undersized fish, all sorts of things like that. Became a wolf cub for a little while, and hopefully I'm still doing my best. Not so much skipping, but plenty of knot tying these days. Again, more undersized fish with friends there. Spent a lot of time in the outdoors, climbing in New Zealand, backpacking, where in New Zealand it's called tramping. Moved from New Zealand, went to school there, left New Zealand in the late 70s. Ended up in London with friends and falling into very bad habits there. Climbing in New Zealand, had a group there, the University Rock Group of Auckland, an F for the friends of. So winter trip, climbing, learned to climb there. This is in the 70s when everything was a lot different and much more mellow. Climbing wasn't mainstream. It was still a fringe activity. And made a lot of good friends there. Had good experiences climbing. A lot of us went to Yosemite in the late 70s, early 80s. Spent a lot of time in Clamp 4, climbing there, doing routes and learning about climbing. I stayed, a lot of them left. But we still all keep in touch, and we managed to get back together last year and repose our photo from a long time ago. Had good times, learned to climb walls there. 1980s with my friend Rick. Went back to finish climbing there a few years ago. South face of Mount Watkins. Rick and I first tried it in 1980 or so, 81. And we tried several times since. It took us 40-something years to get up the thing. Now 30 years, I'm exaggerating, 32. So Alex Honnold climbed this thing in about 2 hours. It takes real perseverance, real fortitude, real stupidity to take 32 years and to do about 40 pitches on an 18-pitch climb. But, what can I say? Lots of good friends from guiding in Washington, working for American Alpine Institute in the 80s. Still keep in touch with those friends. And I think one of the good things about climbing is the bonds you establish, the friends you make, and the connections that keep you together. Same thing can be said for the people that you work with. And I've guided John in the middle there with the bandana for, we've done probably 15 trips over about 20 plus years all over. John's brought his sons out on trips. Cooper, the guy to the left of John. On my left, John's right. So they're good family. They do a lot of things together. Cooper did the high route with us when he was about 17, I think, in high school, and turned his feet to hamburger, but he persevered and got through. I didn't think he was going to, but he did. He's still having a little trouble skiing, I guess. This is Italy. Did a trip there. John's other son, Rob, and his wife-to-be, Yasna. So in Ecuador 2 years ago. In Patagonia as well. So we've done a lot of stuff. and had a good time doing it. And I've always enjoyed being out with these guys. So, got the opportunity to put together an Antarctica trip for John and the family. Antarctica is a hard place to get to. Trips there are run by this guy, Doug Stroop, out of Tahoe. And he runs a company there, Icebergs Expeditions. And he's sort of the premier guy for putting together the trips there. Icebergs leases a boat from Quark Expeditions, and the logistics of doing this are pretty major. So really all I had to do was plug into it, which made things fairly easy. So for this trip, you leave out of southern Argentina, Ushuaia, and this is the route that we followed. The Antarctic Peninsula is the part of Antarctica that sticks out the most towards South America. Close up here of where we went, series of islands off the western side of the peninsula, and those tend to give shelter to the storms. And that's one reason to go to this area, that you get shelter, the islands break the weather that comes in. Ushuaia here, no wind blown, right on the Straits of Magellan, small fishing town. It's the jump off point for Antarctica. And it's a cool little spot, right on the waterside, beautiful things all around. It's well worth spending some time there. There's some skiing outside of out of the town of Ushuaia, a small ski area. It hasn't really operated much, but it's good to get out and backcountry ski from there. So the group, or the expeditions, kind of divided up into small pods of skiers, and I was skiing with the Miller group, and we were joined here by Carl, who is the addition to our group. So we had a group of about 4 or 5 of us skiing. Beautiful peaks out of Ushuaia, so much skiing, amazingly good terrain. You could spend a season just staying at a hotel, skiing outside of town. Marshall Glacier here, not much of a glacier these days, but there's easy access up into the high country. Good way to get out, see how people are skiing, get some systems dialed, run over crevasse rescue, things that you need to know and are worth doing close to town, close to a restaurant. So good day out there. Looking down at Ushuaia from up on the ski area, looking across to Tierra del Fuego, more skiing out there than you can ever do in a lifetime, and not that many people go out there at all. So we were following in the steps of lots of hardy explorers. Scott expedition here, going to the South Pole and Armden. They haul boats all the way over. I would say the guy in the left corner there is probably the guide. Their boat. Amundsen's boat. And our boat. Definitely roughing it here. Scott's Christmas dinner here in his hut. And our dining room. Scott here modeling the finest in turn of the 19th century Antarctic equipment. And here we have Carl modeling state-of-the-art 2020 equipment. So Scott did not have this. We were definitely roughing it here, I'd have to say. I'm not sure what Amundsen would have made of girls in bikinis. So depart Ushuaia and head off into Drake Passage. Drake Passage is certainly one of the worst weather areas on the planet. The storms just circle Antarctica without stopping. No land masses to really cut them down. And Drake Passage has a reputation. We were lucky going across. The weather was relatively benign, and we had maybe 2 to 3 meter seas, which by Drake Passage standards is about as close as you can get to calm. Wonderful bird life out there, albatross. Some of the photos here I've taken from other people, so I've tried to credit them wherever I can. So if they're good, they're probably not mine. A really good bird life as you cross over, and once you get onto the peninsula, even more wildlife. Start to get closer and islands appear, just sort of ghostly white outlines through the mist. And pretty different to Ushuaia. Everything here is snow and ice. Getting into the shelter of the islands now, the seas are calming down. Fangs of rock appear, and amazing sunsets. So as we get closer here, we start to plan for getting onto land. Every day starts with a guides meeting and how it's going to run. Angela here, I've worked with Angela a lot in the past. She was lead guide on the trip. She's also president of the Guide Association. Look at slides, think about where to go. There's history of places that have been skied before. Andrew McLean here, people from the Salt Lake area might know him. He's a preeminent skier, backcountry skier, adventurer from there. He's skied a number of times, and he has a good selection of slides, kind of telling us best places to go. The biggest problem on a lot of the areas here is getting off the water and onto the land. There's often a short cliff, ice cliff. You've got to find good landing areas, and that can be tricky. So lots of different options for people, and a lot depends on the ski area, so a skier's ability. Put people into groups, partner up with a second guide, and go ahead and often get out in the morning for scouting, see where land. Boat comes in close. As I said, the tricky part is often getting onto the shore through these barriers. The Quark expedition folk have got this sorted out pretty well. They've got a good routine. They lower the Zodiacs off from the top deck, get them in the water. Landing protocols to get people onto the boat safely, and then head towards land. Get safety briefings, make sure what to do to get people back in the boat in case somebody goes overboard. The water here is cold and your survival would be very limited if you go over the side here. Other partners here is guiding with the girl in the middle, Sarah, and we've got Rob on the side there. And then on to land, and everybody's pretty excited just to get here. A lot of glacial travel, so tend to be roped up on the approaches and then unroped for the descents, but skiing with a rope on is fairly dubious and tricky. A lot of problems. Relying a lot upon spreading load over crevasse bridges, that type of thing, and going up rope gives you the opportunity to check things out and get an idea for the lay of the land. The boat hangs off in the water, waiting for us to come back. It's a pretty deluxe way of doing things and pretty good, I have to say, from a guide's perspective. Most weather can change fairly quickly. Heading up to the top of the peak here, just as the cloud comes in. Want to be conservative in the skiing here. You're a long way from anywhere. If things go wrong, such as break a leg, you can get flown out, but it's not going to be easy. Skiing in flat light, ups the risk level. So try not to ski aggressively, just ski conservatively. A lot of the skiing here is more about the views and the being here than skiing steep radical lines. People do come down here trying to ski steep lines, thinking they're going to tear it up. It doesn't turn out that way. Snow is variable. Often close to the shore, it's fairly soft, isothermal, bottomless. Then you often get a good layer of, or good band of corn snow. Then above that, it gets to breakable crust and fairly nasty skiing. Above that, you might get into the powder, but you've got to work for that. So oftentimes the skiing is lower angle, skiing conservatively, soaking up the views and just enjoying it. Sarah here, wrapping it up at the end of the day, heading back to the boat. Here's a typical sort of landing. Nice to have rocks the Zodiacs can nose into. There's various equipment put ashore in case of having to spend time out there, survival gear, in case the winds come up, the Zodiacs can't get back in. The Zodiacs are pretty good when they're full of people. They've got a lot of weight to them. It's a different story when they're empty. And that can be the problem, an empty boat getting back from the main boat to pick us up. Typical landing, fairly tricky with clunky ski boats or boots, that sort of thing on. Slippery rocks, so just got to be careful and cautious. It's not a hard place to hurt yourself. So conservative movements, working with each other. Zodiac drivers hanging out offshore, waiting for us to have fun. And penguins, that's what everybody came for, right? So we'll have plenty of gratuitous penguin shots, don't worry. So at the end of the day, go back, relax, shower, clean up, and the boat moves on to another place. Spend a lot of time just hanging out on deck, watching the scenery. This type of views all around you. Good bird life here. These are cormorants, blue-eyed cormorants. Lots and lots of these birds everywhere. And of course, penguins. Penguins really do fly underwater. It's amazing to be up on the deck and just looking down at them, zooming around under the water, and then porpoising up and out of it. This is supposed to be a way that they can check around and look for predators. These are, I think, Delhi penguins. General rule here is that don't get closer than 2 meters to the penguin, 6 feet or so. If they come up to check you out, as they often do, that's entirely acceptable. But no feeding of animals, any of that stuff. The regulations for on-land use are dictated by the Antarctic Tourist or Tour Operators Association. And they have protocols. You're not allowed to pee on land, have to take that back. No eating on land to avoid food scraps that might get these animals into bad habits, such as they have in the Sierra Nevada. And limiting the interaction with them, even when they're curious. But they don't limit interaction with themselves, I guess. Lots of penguins, penguins everywhere, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of penguins. And colonies everywhere. The staining on the snow is from penguin poop. Their main food is krill, and it's a pinkish crustacean, and that lends a pinkish color to their poop. And it smells about what you'd imagine from hundreds of thousands of penguins eating krill. And wherever there's wherever there's penguins, there's going to be things that eat penguins, such as leopard seals. This guy. Fierce teeth on them. If you're interested, go ahead and look for a video by Paul Nicklin, National Geographic one. He's got some very good footage of leopard seals. Leopard seals have a fearsome reputation from the days of early Antarctic explorers who thought that they were being stalked by the seals. Nicklin filmed down there. He was deathly afraid of the penguins. However, he found that he was actually befriended by one of them, who brought him penguins, live ones, then dead ones, tried to feed him penguins and couldn't understand why this dumb animal wouldn't eat them. She eventually got fairly frustrated with it, but it's a really good video, well worth looking for. Paul Nicklin, Leopard Seals, National Geographic. So the boat here is about 300 feet long, 100 meters. Got accommodations for, we had about 25 staff, about 25 guides, about 100 plus guests, and they probably had about 60 to 70 staff on the boat. No, it's tight, but no, livable easily. Another good day here. Carl Yazra and I went out. Landing. As I said, oftentimes the hardest part is getting away from the shore. There's often a little ice cliff. Sometimes you might boot up it and then get on the skis later. Wonderful clear day. On this trip, we got probably about 7 to 8 days of skiing. We lost one towards the end. We were out here by ourselves. It's kind of a little ironic. You go to Antarctica and then suddenly the boat disgorges a bunch of people all in the same area. So it's nice to just get away from folks and have a little time by yourself just to absorb the atmosphere. And we had some great skiing here. Found a nice narrow belt of corn snow and just skied several laps on it for fun. Just superb skiing above the water. Really doesn't get a whole lot better than this. Skiing down to the penguins. Let me back up here. Some people did want to ski steeper stuff. We had on board a Olympic snowboard woman, and they were keen to ski steeper things, get some video footage, that type of stuff. So people were definitely skiing some steep terrain, but most of the time, the best skiing is on the lower angles. People climbed this peak up the left skyline and then skied the face on the right. It's not as steep as it looked in that previous photo, but it's still plenty deep enough. Certainly, no, I'm happy on the more moderate terrain, enjoying the scenery. Skiing, literally skiing with penguins here. They're going up, we're going down. Carolyn Parker here, another guy that I've worked with a lot in the past. Just looking good, having fun. Corn snow. Now you'd think you're going to be skiing powder here, but you're not necessarily doing snow. No, there's that narrow band of pretty good corn snow, and we had some great corn, not that different to what you find in the Sierra Nevada. New Zealand guide here, Mark. So you don't have to be a good skier to enjoy this. There's terrain to suit you. And again, the best skiing is probably the low angle. Carl here, skiing to the water. Rob had a good run here. You've got to be a little careful. There are ice cliffs below. You've just got to plan your route. Ski carefully, nicely, and head back to dinner. Yep, Scott and Amundsen didn't quite have this. The crew do a great job. The cooks are great. You've got a good choice of food. I was pretty impressed. But no, I'm used to freeze dry. John here, nice glass of Argentine wine in the evening. It's a tough life. And the white party. This is one of the events that Ice Axe Expedition likes to put on. And Doug, everybody has to dress up in white. And of course, guides as well. No, I went as a snowflake. I told everybody I was special, which I believe I am. And again, friend Caroline. So, no, as you might expect, it doesn't take long for guides to turn things into debauchery, and it doesn't take long for guides to kind of turn a ship into a mess, like their home. Skis, boots, clothing everywhere. But it's all got to get dried out and the cabins are small. Partway down, we entered what's called the Lemaire Channel. It's a narrow strip of water down past Icebergs. Yep. I don't know quite what that's doing there, but it shouldn't be. So entering the Lemaire Channel at night or late evening, we've got long days here and just utterly superb terrain. The captain wasn't sure if we could get in here. A lot depends on the ice, but it had broken up enough to allow us to get in. The captain here was from Ukraine. We asked him if he had any dirt on Biden, but he didn't really seem to have much, unfortunately. But the guy's very much focused on getting his multi-million-dollar ship through here without any interruptions. It's all operated by just a small joystick. There's a thruster on the bow that gives it a lot of maneuverability. He's got cameras mounted on the front, on the sides, and radar to help pick way through the icebergs, which I don't know quite how you get through this lot, but he did. So, no, this is part of our route here. The boat just slowly noses its way in between the icebergs and the brash ice here, looking for open sections. And I'd say that going through the Lemaire Channel here was certainly one of the highlights of the trip. Just being out in the evening. Truly amazing. It's one of the most spectacular, beautiful places I've ever been, and I've been lucky enough to get to quite a few. So part of the program here is the polar plunge. Yeah, I said the water's cold. It's me doing backwards. So there's a lot of ways to go into the water here. You've got a rope on you just in case things go bad and you've got to be hauled out. There's a doctor standing by with a monitor you in case of heart and defib you if you need to. So here we've got the cannonball, the backflip. Probably going to be the belly flop, I'd imagine. The exuberant. So the water's cold. It's barely above freezing and it's salt water, but it doesn't freeze. So it's cold. And if you're lucky enough, you can actually walk on water. So it's kind of a rite of passage for folks. But no matter what, it's cold. And the best way to get warm is in the hot tub. I went in, I got to the front of the line to jump in early so that the hot tub wasn't full. And after that, an outdoor dinner on the deck. The food and the socializing is certainly part of it. In these days of COVID-19, this isn't going to fly. I mean, the cruise ship industry is in deep trouble. I'm not sure how Doug's going to deal with this in the future. I truly hope that he manages to pull through and keep these trips running. So last stop that we had was in the South Sandwich Islands, which are a small collection of islands on the northern end of the Antarctic Peninsula. The weather was coming in a little bit. This was different. The landings were not hard here. The terrain was a little bit lower, still roped up even though it wasn't heavily glaciated. Again, some really good fun skiing. Not steep, just beautiful cruising and all the way down to the penguins. So this was our last day. The weather started to come in, started to get a low pressure system moving across. Solon here was the expedition leader, and there was a decision made to turn back early. What you see there in blue and red is generally going to be high winds and high seas. So left behind South Sandwich Islands. The boat, wouldn't have any problem with crossing, but it's fairly unpleasant, a lot of banging around. The previous year, the captain also left a day early. He was a Russian that year, and he said, the boat, that will have no problem. But you, I'm not so sure about. So attempt to kind of minimize the discomfort. Most people do get seasick, but it's kind of the price of entry in and out. And coming back, we probably had 5 meter seas, 5 to 6 meter seas, which are not bad compared to getting 15 to 20 meter seas. But it's all part of the experience. And for me, part of the experience is also just being out with good friends, people I've known for a long time, people I've skied with a lot of time, and just having fun. Again, friends Angela and Carolyn. It was good to hang out with them. People from a lot of different places. Ode here smoked every minute of the trip, I think, but a tough man and somebody you would want in a tight situation watching you back. So it's hard not to be smiley when you're down there. Everybody was. It was just a fun, wonderful trip. Get to meet new people, new friends. Michael here from Jackson. Every trip has the youngster on it, and that was Michael. He's wearing a life jacket here, a bit of a penalty. If you deploy your life jacket accidentally, you're supposed to wear it to dinner, and Michael deployed it accidentally. There's always got to be the young punk, but good lad. Todd from Tahoe, been down here a lot. And as I said, people that I've worked with before. So just a good time. And also get to know the Quark staff a little bit here. They're a good group of people. They know how to operate this. They run it fairly seamlessly. And they work their asses off. They work hard from morning to night. But they have fun with it along the way. And they definitely take care of people. And Solon here from Juno, I think, did an excellent job of organizing things. His job was also herding the guides, which everybody wants to be a leader. That's the way it is with guides. The fountain chocolate. This was the chocolate dinner. A lot of talk about food here, but food is a component of it and lends itself to the good time. So just a few words about Antarctica in general. As I said, things there are controlled by the International Association of Antarctic Tour Operators, and they limit what's able to be done there. As I said, can't poop on land, pee. Large boats with more than 200 people aren't allowed to land. So we were lucky our boat was small, so we were able to land there. That prevents the place getting overrun. There's different disinfectant procedures. You want to sterilize the boots when you go on the land and when you come back. Also, as a lot of people know, Antarctica is one of the focal points of climate change. And we were at Esperanza, and that set an all-time record, 65 degrees in this year. Antarctica is definitely warming enormously, and things to focus there, particularly in the area we went, the Antarctic Peninsula, which is just over here. Now, it's a little bit ironic, to go on a trip like this that does burn a lot of carbon fuel and be contributing to the demise of the planet. But it's something that I have trouble rationalizing, and as much as I like it there, I have a hard time deciding whether I want to go back. I really would love to go back and explore there more. Whether I can justify it is something else. Let's see if I can run this video here. This is the Larsen ice shelf. Look at the timestamp in the top left for, is it going to play? Yep. How fast it collapsed and just broke up fully. It is amazing the rate of change. We see it here in the Sierra Nevada. It's even more so in Antarctica. And one of the people on the trip, the woman snowboarder, figured out how much it took in carbon to do this trip. So a lot of carbon. We can do what we can to offset it, whether it's buying carbon offsets or just trying to travel less. And we all have a role to play. You have to decide what it's going to be. But I can't say enough good things about Antarctica and being able to do a trip there and being privileged to go there. And it truly is a privilege to be able to watch scenery like this, be able to be out in this terrain. And this ranks as one of the most amazing trips that I've ever done. And again, I'm privileged and honored to be allowed to go there and be allowed to enjoy it.